The heat clawed at Jake's skin, smoke thick in his lungs. He could taste the fire, ash and fear. Every breath was a struggle. The warehouse groaned, its wooden bones cracking under the fire's rage. He had to move fast. Someone was still inside. A woman's scream had cut through the roar, a sound he'd never forget. He pushed deeper, his gear heavy, sweat blurring his vision. The smoke was too thick to see. He relied on the sound of splintering wood, the smell of melting plastic, the suffocating heat. He called out, "Fire department, can you hear me?" Only the fire answered. A floorboard collapsed, sparks raining down. Jake shielded his head, ignoring the pain. Fear and pain were part of the job, but he pushed them down. Through the haze, he saw a pale hand reaching out from under a fallen beam. He had found her. He scrambled over debris, air thinning, oxygen alarm ready to sound. Time was running out. He reached the woman, her leg pinned, eyes wide with terror. In her eyes he saw his own fear and hope. He grabbed the beam, muscles screaming. He had to lift it. He had to get her out. The fire closed in, a curtain of orange and red. There was no time left. The feeling of being trapped was all too familiar. It took Jake back to a different fire, the day his father lost the family business. Not to flames, but to betrayal. A contract, a trusted friend named Marcus Thorne. His father, too trusting, signed away everything. Marcus stole the business, leaving Jake's family with nothing. Jake remembered his father's broken face, the helplessness, the anger. He made a silent promise to make things right, to get justice. But he was just a kid, powerless as his family lost their home. That humiliation fueled a fire for justice, a fire that shaped his life. It's why he became a firefighter, not for heroics but to fight chaos, to regain control. Every fire he fought was a battle against the helplessness of his past. Every life saved, every blaze conquered, was a small victory. It was his way of keeping the promise. It was how he proved he could make a difference. Back in the burning warehouse, Jake's muscles strained against the beam pinning the woman. He thought of his father, of his promise, and heaved. The beam shifted, enough for her to pull free, crying out in pain. The fire roared, angry at their escape. Jake helped her up. She leaned on him, trembling. The exit was blocked by fire. They were trapped. His oxygen alarm beeped. Time was running out. Desperate, he spotted a high window, their only hope. He found old crates, unstable but necessary. He helped her climb, urging her on as the heat pressed closer. At the window, he smashed the glass with his axe, cleared the frame and pushed her through. With his last strength, he pulled himself out. They collapsed on the roof, gasping for air. They were alive. For a moment, nothing else mattered. The fire raged behind them, but they had escaped. Jake's promise had given him the strength to save a life. He realized second chances were rare and precious. Sometimes survival was the only victory you needed. He looked at the woman, grateful they'd both made it. The fire was behind them, but the real battle was just beginning. Jake knew he couldn't run from his past any longer. In the days after the fire, I visited the woman, Elena, in the hospital. She thanked me, called me a hero, but I just felt exhausted. The fire haunted my dreams, and so did my father's face. My captain Bill noticed I was struggling. Bill, my mentor, had a calm presence and understood burdens firefighters carried. One afternoon, Bill sat with me in the station kitchen. "You did a good job, Jake," he said. "You saved her life." I shook my head. "It never feels like enough." Bill was silent, then said, "Sometimes keeping a promise is about small actions, not one big one. It's about who you become because of that promise. You became a man who runs into fires, who puts others first. Your father would be proud. The promise isn't about revenge, it's about honoring his legacy." Bill's words gave me a new perspective. I realized being a good man was the real promise. That was the strength I needed. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones inside. During a hospital visit, Elena told me about her job. She worked for a corporation owned by Marcus Thorne. The warehouse had stored old files. She'd been sent to retrieve them. The name Marcus Thorne hit me like a punch. He was the man who destroyed my family. Elena mentioned the files were from a hardware business Thorne acquired years ago. My family's business. Suddenly I realized the fire wasn't an accident. Thorne was trying to destroy evidence of his crimes. I told Elena my story. About my father, the stolen business, my promise. Shocked, she agreed to help. She remembered seeing my family's name on the files. There were digital copies on a secure server and she had access. It was risky. She could lose her job, maybe worse. but she believed in doing the right thing. Together, we planned to expose Thorn. We were no longer just firefighter and victim, we were a team. Justice was finally within reach. The fire had connected us, but justice would define us. We were ready to risk everything. The truth would come out. The courtroom was tense. I sat beside my father, who looked older but hopeful. Across the room, Marcus Thorne sat with his lawyers, confident. Elena took the stand, presenting digital evidence of Thorne's fraud. The lawyers tried to discredit her, but she stood firm. The jury listened, the truth undeniable. I testified about the fire, about finding Elena and my suspicions. I spoke of my father and the promise I made. For the first time, Thorne looked afraid. The jury delivered its verdict, guilty on all charges. Relief washed over me. My father wept with joy, pulling me into a hug. "You did it, son, you kept your promise." Years of anger and helplessness melted away. Justice had been served. The fire inside me was finally extinguished. I was more than a firefighter, I was a son who had restored his family's honor. The past no longer held me captive. We were free. The courtroom victory was more than personal. It was a symbol. My story inspired others. More victims of Thorne came forward. A class action lawsuit formed. I returned to the fire station, changed but still the same man. The weight of my promise was gone, replaced by fulfillment. True courage, I learned, is moral bravery, facing the truth and fighting for it. Bill clapped me on the shoulder. "See," he said, "it's about who you become." I'd restored my family's honor and found my own. My promise was a guide, not a burden. I'd faced the fire within and emerged stronger. The world is full of fires, some real, some made of injustice. I couldn't put them all out, but I had to try. Change starts with one act of courage. A single spark can light the way for others. That was the greatest victory. A legacy brighter than any fire. And I was ready for whatever came next.
What's something people don't know about stories? They never truly end. There's always a new adventure waiting for you. Just pick your next tale and I'll meet you there. Subscribe to the Story Circle and let me know which story I should tell next in the comments.